Jon Stewart is a former professional wrestler and political candidate. And 25 years ago, he got interested in the Victor alien interview video that was released. And he's been studying it ever since. And 5 years ago, he began a very deep investigation of the authenticity of that video. And he recently delivered his findings to the office of Congressman Burchett in Washington, D.C. And he's here today to tell us about his investigation and his insights into other videos allegedly of extraterrestrials.
You're listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla, your source for the uncensored truth regarding the human, extraterrestrial, global, and political agenda. Click the like button and subscribe to this channel. And now, here's Dr. Michael Salla.
Well, welcome back, John, to Exopolitics Today.
Thank you, Dr. Salla. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. It's been a long 2 days, especially yesterday was really exhausting, but I'm glad I made it, and I'm glad we're here talking about what we're going to talk about.
So I know we did an interview a couple of months ago, so people probably remember that you've been studying the Victor interview, or the interview of an alien that was recorded by an insider called Victor, and you've been investigating that. Well, 25 years you came across it for the first time, but for the last 5 years, you've been doing a really deep, thorough investigation into that. So why don't you take it from the top in terms of, 5 years ago, you began the investigation, and, what just happened this week in terms of you finishing that investigation and delivering the results?
Yeah, with a very broad brush and using broad strokes, in the beginning of COVID in 2019, a producer in Hollywood that I had done some TV show work with and for, his name was Adam Welkenfeld, called me and said, look, COVID, everyone's in their houses. Do you have any documentary ideas that we could put together, cheaply and put it out into streaming services? And I went over a couple of documentary ideas that I thought, when I mentioned the Area 51 alien interview, he poo-pooed it and said, no, that's, that can't be real. And later that day, it just kind of hit me that, well, I never thought that it wasn't real. And that's when I tell everybody famously the story of me sitting in my car and trying to figure out one thing about this video that I could prove or disprove, and do it within 4 or 5 hours. And I started on that bizarre monitor next to the creature, and I called, emailed PhD candidates and Hewlett-Packard and Space Labs, who all told me that they know nothing. They've never seen a monitor like that before. And then I reconnected with Jaime Maussan, who said that, 13 heart and cardiologists said that the monitor coincides with the beings coughing. And it just became like just a snowball effect. And I went on the Jeff Rentz program just to metastasize this film in my investigation, because think about this. I knew no one in the UFO world. I knew no military people that could help me out. I knew no one. So I figured if I went on a conspiracy or alternative news program, again, I like the term, that I could metastasize it, so I could spark someone maybe in the audience to come forward and say, I know something about this. I know somebody that could help you, so on and so forth. And it worked. I was contacted by a person that I called the chairman, because he was a chairman of the board of this institution, as best I can say. And after about 6-7 months of vetting me, he gave me the list of the 5 military men that were in the viewing gallery in front of this being. He gave me the names of the 2 doctors that were tending to the being. I want to repeat that. I have the names of the doctors who touched and were tending to the being, and taking gauze and wiping the fluid coming out of the being's mouth and nose. One of them died in California. I spoke to his widow. The other one is still practicing medicine in Connecticut, as bizarre as that sounds. And I wanted to, and so it was crazy stuff, but I had to vet that list. So so I got a hold of people like Richard Doty, who simply walked me through each of the names. He knew none of them. I was familiar with one of them, familiar just in name, not like in person relation, but finding out from Doty, through the airwaves, so to speak, of the intelligence community. What did the intelligence community say about this video? And one of the things Doty told me was that, well, it's real. It was real. It's part of a 56-minute film. And, told me the story of how Wendell Stevens acquired it from Victor and whatnot. Then from Doty, I went back on the internet, found an email of the project manager, Major Thomas Mack, who was the project manager in this facility, S4, for Project Aquarius, R-4800. The 4800 was the area nomenclature of the facility. And, it simply said, that, I worked with a being called J-Rod. He could imitate voices. The email said, this was after I talked to Doty, find Richard Doty. He was our counterintelligence agent for this program. The program was called Project Aquarius. And it was under the umbrella of Project, the Majestic program, which had everything to do with all contact with alien extraterrestrial craft, whether that be the acquisition of craft in the air, the targeting of craft in the air, the engagement of craft in the air. I can't believe I'm remembering these names. The propulsion system, the biological and physiological makeup of any of the pilots or beings inside the craft, the debriefing of those pilots. And again, I tell everybody, Rick Doty told me three things. One, that film was not an S4, it was an S2, which I thought was disinformation when I first heard it, until Michael Schatt talked to Dan Burchett, who was also down there in S4, and said there were no interview suites in S4. They were in another facility, which was S2. So it bared out Richard Doty's testimony. He told me the name of the building, called Annex 2, S2 Alpha, the military designation of this building. I received the satellite information of this building. So it all started to fall into place that this was an absolute authentic video of an extraterrestrial being.
Okay, well, Colin, there's a lot of information there to unpack. I mean, I thought this difference, this distinction that Rick Doty made between S4 and S2, I mean, I hadn't heard of that. I had always heard of S4 as the place where, of course, Bob Lazar saw the 9 ET craft. But Rick Doty said that, well, S4 is a museum. I've heard that before. But he said that S2 is actually where they're doing the production of the ARVs. So that's happening in the S2 facility. And I know you have a photo, and you sent me that photo of, it's kind of a blurry satellite photo. And I think what is that? Is that the S4 facility?
No, that is the top of S2. That building is called Annex 2. It is now bear with me, folks. Everyone knows I have ADD. So that building, if you're looking at S4 in Papoose Lake, you go kitty corner to the northwest about 5 miles, and you'll see a bunch of buildings and whatnot. And they call that the horseshoe because of the road around it. That is called S2 Alpha, Annex 2. That is the entrance of what's called the AHC, the Alien Housing Containment, or Alien Housing Center. And that is where the lower level biological, the beings who have a lower volatility towards human beings as far as their biology, their smell, if they release any poisons, or if they are a biological contaminant, if they would have been stored in a biosphere under S4. I don't want to confuse anyone. S4 has a sub-basement level where there is a biosphere that was created for any creature that could not stand in our oxygenated world, or that this creature was a contaminant to human beings. But 99% of the regular run-of-the-mill aliens were housed below that building, folks. And that building is S2 Alpha, Annex 2. And that's where you go in. Doty says you pull down a ramp. They come out, they stick an exhaust tube into your exhaust pipe. You go into an office, you exchange badges, and you take the tram over to S4.
Interesting. Okay, so S2 is where the really advanced stuff is happening, where they're doing the, where the corporations are building the ARVs that are used in covert operations, and where the extraterrestrials are housed. And S4, as you said, is just a bio-containment unit for extraterrestrials like J-Rod who were having problems with our atmosphere for whatever reason. Okay, that's
right. And S4 has, the vehicles on the top level, the ground level. We are told by another person, Derek Hennessy, level 2, also has 6 creatures in a bio-containment tubes, full-size bio-containment tubes. And S3 and S4 is where the really bizarre things happen. And they down there is the Project Looking Glass, which is, the divergent timelines, where they try to travel into divergent timelines into our future. And S4 is also has biological examination facilities and laboratories. And then the basement level, it's like a half level from what we were told from Dan Burchett. There's a biosphere there, and that is where contaminated creatures or aliens that cannot breathe or are a contaminant to humans are stored, because you can only enter that biosphere with a complete biohazard suit with the air pressure hose and whatnot, like you see in the regular movies. And it was amazing when Doty told me, he said, "Oh, that video wasn't filmed in S4." And I'm thinking, oh, he's going to tell me that it was a hoax. And there was a pause, and he said, it was filmed in S2. Right? And he's like, no, I'm going to tell you something that if not any UFO researcher knows. He goes, "Are you ready?" I said, "I'm ready." And he said, "It's called S2, John. It's not S4. You're going to look like a fool if you tell people that video was shot in S2. He goes, "Oftentimes a lot of people use S4 as the general description of the entire Papoose Dry Lake complex. But bottom line is that video and the majority of the creatures are housed in S2. And I just had the name. It's the Alien Housing Complex. I'm sorry. Sometimes I got a lot of information.
So, a lot of people watching this may be trying to wrap their minds around what you've just said. So, what we know now, that there are 3 separate facilities at Area 51. One is Groom Lake, which has been publicly revealed. That's where they build the spy planes, the U-2, the SR-71. And then the S4 facility that was revealed by Bob Lazar back in 1989. And now there's the S2 facility. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that S2 facility, Rick Doty was the first one to publicly start talking about that. Is that correct?
He's right. And I am not, pro wrestlers love to be the first at things because we're very insecure about our occupation, because we're not really athletes. We're more. So I don't want to be that I was the first, but according to Doty, I was the first person that he ever said physically face to face that S2 is the actual facility. And I joked with Rick. I said, well, if S4 is in caretaker status, if someone showed up there, would there be like an old guy with a cape on and, oh, you want to go see the craft, or, and we laughed about that. And he said that he wrote me back about a month ago and said that hundreds of millions of dollars had been spent in the area of S2 for some underground road or the improvement of that road or improvement of that tram that goes to S4. So something is going on with the facility, but I want people to understand that in and around about 1997, and Victor was telling the truth, that S4, all of the project and the program there was moved to Michaels Air Force Airfield and the Sandia Labs, which is located in Michaels Airfield, which, folks, you would know this as the Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah. And I have confirmed that the Sandia Labs were upgraded. Los Alamos also got an extra high-tech wing for the further advancement of the examination or the furthering of the biology or the interest in the biology and with extraterrestrial creatures. Another thing that I was told that was really interesting that I didn't say in the last program is that extraterrestrials are from our lineage, and aliens are not from the human lineage. They're from other binary solar systems. So when I saw a photo that had 52,000 on it, I said, well, what does 52,000 mean? And he said, you know, that means 52,000 years into our future. So, you know, some really, I've had to absorb some really, really amazing information that keeps being repeated by people, by men that don't really know each other. And that's kind of startling, to be honest with you. Money's been allocated towards the Papoose Dry Lake facility. What else is going on there? I don't know at this point. That's kind of where my investigation kind of ended off.
Yeah, that's very important that you pointed out that the S4 facility is pretty much a museum these days.
Yeah.
That confirms with what other sources have said, and that the real things are happening either at S2, that adjacent facility, or at the Dugway Proving Grounds. And I haven't heard of Michael Army Airfield at Dugway Proving Ground as a site for a lot of this being moved. But that's an Army facility, so it shows that the Army is involved as well in this whole phenomenon, that it's not just Air Force and Navy, which people normally associate, that the Army actually has a very significant kind of role in this whole reverse engineering and deployment of kind of like alien reproduction vehicles.
Correct. Yeah, supposedly Sandia Labs is on the Dugway Proving Grounds, Michael Air Force Base. I was told it's bizarre. It's its own building. You know, it's not really part of the military, but it's on a military base. Mm-hmm. Just bizarre. You know, again, one of the things, Dr. Salla, that I have realized in the 5-year crash course of this investigation is that the entanglement of military, corporate sector, military, and, you know, the medical, you know, field and military and think tanks and in regards to the alien phenomenon is you know, it's like an inbred family. It's very small community. They're all entwined with each other. Many times left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. But again, to have basically a privately funded unit like Sandia Labs on a military base is very bizarre to me. Knowing I'm a constitutionalist, you know, Dr. Salla, I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the checks and balances of our constitutional republic. We don't have a democracy. We have a constitutional republic. And I've said it a million times. When I was going to run for president in the Libertarian Party 9 months ago, and I stopped because of this investigation, I simply told people, look, the president of the United States has to have the ability to get out and knock on the door of any facility in the United States of America. And if that can't happen, you don't have, you know, you have you have some kind of plutocracy or some autocratic government where they do whatever the hell they wanted. Don't we really have that now? I mean, they're just doing whatever the hell they please, making the rules up as they go on. And you know, again, and I don't want to harp on it, but the Sandia Labs, you know, on a military base just never jive with me.
Right. Well, I know that the Dugway Proving Ground, even though it's supposed to be just a testing ground for ordnance by the different military services, actually has these huge underground facilities. And I know that you know, people have talked about what's being built there, but I know that various corporations, major corporations, have facilities. And now you've just said Sandia National Laboratories also has a facility there at Dugway Proving Ground, kind of like somewhere in relation to this Michael Army Airfield, right there at Dugway. So one of the things that you talked about in our last interview, and you now have finished your investigation was, you were given a list of 5 names of people that were involved, scientists and military personnel, Navy personnel in particular, that were involved in this interrogation of the grey-looking alien in the Victor video. And you've investigated those names, and you shared a photo with me that we're going to show now of one of the names, a Navy Admiral. So, why don't we show that photo, and you tell us, why you wanted to talk about that.
Folks, you want to talk about, I think this is one of the biggest bombshell revelations in the history of ufology. I really shouldn't do what I'm doing today, but Dr. Salla, I respect you so much, and I respect your viewers, and I think it's time, because he is dead, and because of another Victor researcher has stated, and I don't know if there's an email stating that I didn't believe it. It's not that I didn't believe it 4 years ago or 3 years ago. I couldn't believe it or accept it. I do now to a high degree, that when the medic shined the flashlight towards the viewing gallery and one of the military men shied away like that they grabbed a picture of that person. And I'm telling you, the outline with the shine on the nose, the lips, the chin is an African-American male who has a patch on the right shoulder. The Navy doesn't have patches on the right shoulder. And the outline, especially when you look it far away, and I will credit Andrew Burlington for this. And Andrew, if you're listening, I never once doubted it. I just doubted my sanity in believing it. And I mean that. But I wanted to let him drop the bombshell because, I was too nervous to tell anyone that there is a high probability that Colin Powell was in that viewing room. Dr. Salla, I want to say something here that is very important, and I say this with the utmost reverence. I asked one of my military intelligence sources, why, when I got the list, were the names of military men, but all of the U.S. Air Force personnel did not have a name. It just said U.S. Air Force cameraman, U.S. Air Force medic, U.S. Air Force policeman. And he said, John, it's real simple, because those people were always assigned to be there. The military men that you saw their names on the list had to have, not a special clearance, but had to, put their name on a list that they were going to enter S2 into this facility as visitors. And because they were there as visitors and not a regular assigned staff personnel, they had to be on the list. I found that very interesting, because why would you not give me the Air Force information of the Air Force personnel, regular Army, so to speak? So I wanted to mention that. And the bombshell is, first of all, this Admiral Sheafer, he became the deputy director of DIA. He was in 1991. Folks, take the Roswell Twiney memo, take the Wilson memo. This is the bombshell of the bombshell. I should have never have shown this. I'm violating a lot of agreements. But Admiral Sheafer was head of intelligence for the Joint Chiefs. Who did he report to directly? You guessed it, Colin Powell. Now, let me ask you something. I did not know about, I wasn't completely sure that Colin Powell was in that picture. We sure aren't 100%. I want to make that perfectly clear. So how could somebody 3 years ago send me a name of a person who directly reports to Colin Powell, never knowing that we had the outline of a African male in his 40s or 50s wearing an army jacket because he had the patch on the right shoulder? That proves kind of Burlington thinks that the list I got was chicanery or to some degree, but that just proves Burlington wrong, that this list is legit, because one person is backing up what Andrew Burlington said, that Colin Powell was in that room. And I feel weird even saying Colin Powell's name. And more specifically, The number 27 on the bottom of that film, Dr. Salla, we found out that's Yankee White designation. It's a security designation for anyone who reports directly to the President of the United States, or more importantly, sits in the Oval Office and directs and speaks with the President. And we have proof now of 2 people in that room that spoke directly to George H. Bush, Colin Powell and Admiral Sheafer. His nickname was Ted. And I am not going to list any of the other names. It's too explosive at this point. I'm not 100% that it was Colin Powell, but I'm going to tell you something. You put Colin Powell's profile in this profile, and you put it back, and you see the lip shine. It's remarkable. It's remarkable. And I hope I'm not violating things with other people by giving you Admiral Sheafer's name. He's deceased now. His wife lives in Florida. Okay. But this is take the Wilson memo, the Twiney memo, Phil Corso's testimony. I'm not putting myself on the top of the mountain. I'm just simply saying I have got a name and a photo of a person that was in that viewing room watching that creature. And that photo backs up another photo of an outline that Andrew Burlington in England said is Colin Powell. Folks, game, set, and match. It's over. It's been proven.
Okay, all right. Well, your investigation has come up with the conclusion that 2 of the people in that room involved in the interrogation of this gray alien at the S2 facility, that those are this Admiral William Sheafer, who was the Deputy Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency at the time, and Colin Powell, who, of course, went on to become the Secretary of Defense. But
he was Colin Powell's head of intelligence. So, of course, which even intertwines them even more. He was with Colin Powell as his liaison for intelligence for the Joint Chiefs. I mean, just, okay. Like I said, that inbred community.
Okay, so that's quite a bombshell. Okay, so you've spent 5 years investigating this alien video, and you just concluded that investigation, and you dropped it off at the office of Congressman Tim Burchett. So what we want to do is just kind of like give viewers an idea of who Congressman Tim Burchett is and why you chose to drop off the conclusions of your investigation to his office. So let's just play that video of Congressman Tim Burchett.
No, I think if there's something out there that was going to do something, it would have happened a long time ago. I don't think it's Chinese or the Russians. I mean, honestly, if it was Russia, Putin would have landed one on the White House lawn and gotten out bare-chested and wrestled the president on a unicorn or something. In China, they would overtake us all. And if we had it, we would knock everything down out of the air. So that really leaves only one of 2 options. It's either something that we've recovered and we're reverse engineering, or it is actually something coming from out of this world.
Okay, so there we have Congressman Tim Burchett, who represents, who's from a congressional district in Tennessee, and he is quite outspoken that these are UAPs. The best explanation for them is an extraterrestrial origin. So why did you choose him to be the person to deliver your investigation to?
It was really a last-second audible, to be honest with you. I first approached Representative Gallagher in Green Bay, who created the whistleblower amendment. And folks, this should piss you off. I mean, he just basically blew off me driving 3 hours or 6 hours round trip to drop off my investigation, to ask for his help. Never got a phone call. Then I was going to go to Rep. Andre Carson, who was coincidentally in Indianapolis, that I would pass his office every time I visited my daughter at the University of Indiana. But again, I was kind of fell through the cracks with him. I was then going to go to the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee. And I want to commend my congressman, believe it or not, Brad Schneider, congressman of the 10th District here in the North Shore of Chicago, who I talked with one of his aides, Tommy Franks, and he said, look, you need to take this to the Intelligence Committee. or someone that's holding hearings on this. So I was going to take it to Tammy Duckworth, who's my senator and the head of the Intelligence Committee, when I heard that Congressman Tim Burchett was now forming an investigation in a committee to start holding hearings. And he's from Tennessee. I went to the University of Memphis on a walk-on football scholarship. I started my wrestling career in Memphis or in the Tennessee area. So I thought that was kind of ironic. I called Congressman Burchett's office a week ago. They were very friendly, very cordial. Here's how you come to us. Here's where, here's where you want to maybe park and stuff like that. And when I went to the Longworth office where the congressional offices are, I walked in, they knew of me. They remembered me. They greeted me. They accepted my investigation. When I told them, look, this is really explosive. It's the alien investigation I've been talking about. They weren't shocked, which was nice, because Congressman Tim Burchett must have briefed them a little bit. Here's what I'm going to start doing. We took a picture together, and then I left the office. I stopped by Greer's disclosure event for 5 minutes, and I had to get back to the airport. I flew in and out of Washington in a matter of like 5 hours. But I'm glad I did it. This was not something you phone in. You don't mail it in. It's the biggest story in the history of the planet. And I flew it to Washington, and I put it in the hands of the man that I feel is going to help me, protect me, and hear my information, simply to further this investigation by Congress and for the American public, to prove that we are not alone.
Well, Congressman Burchett, as we just saw, is clearly someone that supports the extraterrestrial hypothesis when it comes to these UAP sightings. And so you've delivered this 5-year investigation that you've done to him. So what did the investigation comprise? And what was your report? What did you actually give him? Was it a document? Was it a collection of videos? Was it a CD? What did you give him?
It's a great question.
His office.
I gave him an introductory letter of who I am, how I started this program, a little bit of my background as a candidate for governor and Congress, and Secretary of State, retired small businessman. And basically, I told them in another sheet of paper, this report is dealing with what's called the unauthorized viewing of a smuggled film out of Area 51, because that's where it was smuggled. It wasn't smuggled out of S2. It was let out of S2, taken to the photo lab in Area 51. Very important. And I said, through my military contacts and military intelligence sources, I have been granted and given the names of the military men that were in this viewing room watching this alien interview, this thought projection interview. I've been given names of the medical doctors. I have followed up on every one of the names on this report. I have spent $4,000 analyzing the video with Bill Mums from National Geographic. I've talked to anyone that will give me any information about it. I've told him the name of the facility, the name of the program nomenclature, the facility name, the date of the video, what type of creature we were looking at, which was a gray haploid. Haploid means one sexual chromosome. Human beings are diploid. We have 2 sexual chromosomes. So I gave him the complete rundown. I also told him about my emails being my read but not deleted emails being swiped twice off my phone, having no answer from the FBI, who I contacted, having no answer from many congressmen other than Brad Schneider, and basically the entire investigation of just this film, who was there, and all of the nomenclature and all of the information about the facility and the program. Not real lengthy, because I don't like to read a lot either, but it was right to the point. Telling him also that I was told I was put on, I am on some bizarre government watch list because of my FOIAs, my overseas emails, and the questionnaire that I sent to the National Air and Space Intelligence Center when I had one of their operatives willing to come forward on a documentary for me, and that seemed to trip off all kinds of alarm bells. I also told them about the DIA FOIA office telling me that my name's on their computer without a file, and then this is impossible. I was told this by the DIA. Your name's on our computer. There's no file attached. This can't happen. It's impossible. And 2 hours later, the file appeared and, oh no, we made a mistake. And, you know, so I basically told him all of this in a very professional report. I gave him 4 or 5 photos of the creature, explained what the creature was, explained what the number 27 was on the bottom of the film in the DNI, Department of Naval Intelligence. Told him the facility, the satellite photo was Annex 2, S2 Alpha was the top entrance of the alien creature, alien housing center for captured beings, and the name and the name of the program, which is basically the Alien Retention and Interrogation Program, and that's what I dropped off.
Okay, well, thank you. The Alien Retention and Interrogation Program. That's maybe not the it's not like Project Majestic or Project Aquarius, but that is the name that all of those in the program use. The Alien Retention and Interrogation Program. Okay, very important, because I mean that's kind of like very similar to the Men in Black movies, what they describe in that. Right. So you've dropped off your investigation to Congressman Burchett's office. Right. So what do you expect to happen now? I mean, is he going to open up an investigation into this? I mean, what have they told you? What can we expect over the next 3 to 6 months? He is opening a committee hearing on this. That's happening. Whether you believe me or not, it's happening. What do I expect? Well, I 2 things that happen in my life, and I mean this sincerely. Or not that I don't mean this sincerely. I mean this with a heavy gravity of what I'm about to say. The fact that I have been logged in with Congressman Schneider as a citizen, communicating with their office, one of his chief of staff communicating with me, that's on record, you know, that makes me feel secure. I'm hiding in plain sight. The fact that I flew to Washington, hand-delivered this packet to Congressman Burchett, I'm logged in at their office, that, you know, Jon Stewart is not a no one anymore. He's a person, he's from Chicago, and this is his investigation. Those 2, and my report to the FBI and my FOIA request, have all, to me, helped secure the fact that if something, and I don't believe that this would happen, because I have been told by numerous sources the wet works and the eliminating of people is, you know, kind of a Cold War thing. But it makes me feel secure, and my family secure, that I'm on record. That's it. That I'm on record, that I got there first. I followed up the Grush investigation with names, photos, videos, and statements. And it gives me a source of protection, because I'm logged in now, if that makes any sense. It does. Makes a lot of sense. So, you know, just to kind of like summarize all of this. So you, in 1997, when this Victor video came out of this alien Gray being interrogated, you know, it created a kind of a bit of a splash, and it just kind of like was out there. It was out there in the internet. No one's really run with it until you picked it up around 5 years ago, in terms of like conducting a serious investigation. And now you've taken it to the point where you've delivered the results of your investigation to Congressman Burchett. And the congressman, you've been informed, is opening up an investigation into that particular incident. So that's quite something, especially given, you know, you've been given the list of names, and Congress is going to investigate this. He's not opening up a committee on my investigation. He is opening up a hearing on the alien phenomenon and anyone bringing forth material. So I just want to be okay. That's good. Clear on that. Good. Yeah. Okay, so he's opening up an investigation into the alien phenomenon, and he'll investigate, or that congressional committee will investigate all reports and data on this kind of alien phenomenon. And so yours is just one data set that they're going to be looking at. So that's quite an accomplishment that you've gotten to that point. And you're absolutely correct. You know, once you've kind of logged it in to the congressional system, that, you know, you're protected. Anything happens to you now, all of a sudden it's like, well, you know, this Jon Stewart was involved in starting up this investigation. So I think that's great. So, you know, you have overall 25 years in investigating these different kind of like claims of aliens being captured and interrogated. You know, you've looked at the Victor video, so I wanted your expert advice on some of these other videos that are floating out there, and researchers such as myself are kind of trying to make head and tails of, you know, what's true, what's not. So I wanted to run a short video of the Skinny Bob. So let's play the Skinny Bob. Okay, so there we have this famous Skinny Bob video that's also been out there for a few years. So, you know, what do you know about that particular video? Is it real or not?
Well, you gave me a task to investigate this, so I asked 3 really good sources, and here's what. First of all, I think anyone can obviously see that it was that whatever the true provenance is of this video, there was some kind of really bad, aging program added to this with the projector noise. That's my opinion. There are people on the internet that claim that folks, listen to me. There are people on the internet who claim that the projector noise gets higher pitched as the video goes on, because it got higher pitched because more film was being let out of the reel. I'm just saying. A group of CGI and video analysis people said this. 100% it was created in 2011. It was put through a modern movie app program called Shutterstock to make it look old, just like I said. It's got added grainy dots, scratches, and they line up perfectly with the Shutterstock program. So if you took Shutterstock and put it on your trip to the Bahamas, by the way, that was my code name for anytime I sent somebody alien or any information, I said, here are my Bahama photos, just to let you know. Anyways, if you put the Shutterstock program on your Bahama video and you took the Skinny Bob video, the scratches and the dots would line up perfectly. So 100% it was used, the Shutterstock program was used. To 125%, certainly. The software back in 2011 that could be used was a 3D software called Blender. And they all said only a very skilled VX creator could have used that program. Also, they noticed on the program that besides Shutterstock, some sort of a program to add a VHS feel to it was added. Now, these are experts, people way smarter than me. There's people that also say that the alien's jugular vein moves in this video, but that also could be something that's called pareidolia. Now, this is something I am familiar with because pareidolia happens in our Victor alien photo. I am not discrediting Andrew Burlington, by the way. There are definite movements. The eye socket goes from round to flat on the bottom, but once in a while you say, oh, the eyelid or the eyebrow area moved, and when you really look, it's like the pixelation of the film. That's called pareidolia, and it does happen with our Victor alien, and so I am familiar with that, but people think that that's not genuine skin movement on the jugular of Skinny Bob. But here we go again. You know, just like the Alien Autopsy, there's something they can't explain. There's a smudge, and there's something that I would like to talk about too about this video that's very bizarre. There's a smudge mark over one part of the timestamp, and they said if that was done under, 2011 program, that it would be very smudgy. But this thing is almost like a cutout piece of black cardboard put over the timestamp. And again, something that I have now become an expert in, and I wish I would have sent you some of the other pictures, a military intelligence person who is a private contractor for credit card companies. He used to live in Australia. He is the top, one of the top CGI, computer people in the world. I've Googled him. And he said, John, look, I'm telling you one thing, what I've known from being a contractor. If there's a timestamp on it, you know, the timestamp, like the old VHS tape recordings, he goes 99% of the time, you're looking at a government or some sort of government film. And the Skinny Bob has a timestamp with a very clear redacted mark that they can't explain, that they said it should be smudgy. So, and again, I've asked people, I'm like, well, how do you start doing this program? Do you trace out Skinny Bob? Because he does, even though he's in this aging program, he does look very, very real. Did you draw him and then animate him, and everybody just does the, you know, it's the same thing as the Victor investigation. You get these experts, and they puff their shoulders and they pat themselves on the back, and then you ask them a more detailed question, and it's kind of they can't really explain it. I'm not saying that it's not a hoax, but there are some lingering questions that even FX people and VX people have a very hard time explaining, especially that little redacted space that is not smudged out. And why I talk about timestamp, when Bill Uhlhaus, this is the Marine that was directed to create the simulator for American pilots to fly alien craft, he said one time he was in a conference room at a conference table, and this gray alien walks in with a JCPenney's plaid short sleeve shirt, pants. I find the photo on the internet. And what does it have in it? It's got a timestamp above the alien. And I think it was from 1994. I mean, so I've just been told about the timestamp 3 years ago, 2021. You know, are you telling me somebody in 94 knew, oh, in the future, they're going to talk about timestamps, so we got to put that on, you know, and we got to get 7 people around a conference table, and we got to get somebody dressed as a gray alien in a JCPenney short sleeve shirt, and we're going to take a picture, and this fat, chubby wrestler in 2023 is going to expose, you know, so we can't expose. I mean, it's just, you know, it's Occam's razor. What's the simplest answer? The simplest answer was there was a gray alien in a JCPenney's outfit in a conference room with a timestamp above his head. And even the film of the ship supposedly out at S4, it has a timestamp on it too. You know, so again, what this person was telling me that was a contractor is bearing out to me that generally when a film of some sort of something extraterrestrial has a timestamp on it, it is from the government. Not saying Skinny Bob is the real deal, but there are head scratchers with that video. And I'm still waiting for someone to tell me, yes, you draw out the creature, and well, how did you make the eyes blink? Do you have to tell the computer program? Again, I'm not insulting anyone, just some very weird stuff on it. But definitely made to try and look like it is old. And again, another whistleblower told me the government loves to put out real information and put one kernel of mistruth in so it could be a straw man argument and knock it down. But when it is really exposed, they can say, and I'm expecting that with my investigation, for somebody in the military to say, wait a minute, that video was leaked out in 96 and I didn't do anything, and Barack Obama didn't prosecute him when they found him out who he was, and Jon Stewart can go kiss our ass because we didn't stop it, and it's been out there for 25 years, and you know, we're heroes. And I'm expecting that to totally happen with the Victor video. Okay,
all right. Well, yeah, as far as the Skinny Bob video then is concerned, you feel that it could go either way. It could be a hoax, it could be genuine, or could have elements of truth in it that might date back to the Bill Uhlhaus incident, where he says that he interacted with a gray alien that survived the Kingman, Arizona UFO crash, and that gray alien helped the Air Force learn the nuances of some kind of like alien propulsion system.
Well, right, and Dr. Salla, you know, I'm one of those guys that picks up little things and little details. Mm-hmm. That's been the crust of my investigation. Right. When Bill Uhlhaus said he's in a conference table, the alien came in with a JCPenney short sleeve blouse, he called it. And I see this video of an alien in a short sleeve, and it's a terrible video. It's horrible, but you can see it's a gray alien. You know, it just makes you stop and think, Bill House is a hoaxer too?
Right. Okay, so that's the Skinny Bob video. That the garment that Skinny Bob is wearing, you think actually could
no,
be
I'm sorry.
grounded in
I'm talking about another photograph that has a timestamp above it. I'm so sorry that I wasn't more specific. I'm talking about another photograph of a gray alien at a conference table with a military man in desert Class A dress uniform, and there's a timestamp above that alien's name. You know why? You know, and he's got the JCPenney's short sleeve shirt like Bill Uhouse. I'm just saying about the timestamp.
All right, okay, but in the case of that Skinny Bob video,
yes,
the clothing that alien wore, I mean, it looks very human. It could be that that was just given to him to wear,
like a coverall.
They went out and just grabbed some clothing for him. Okay, so that's the Skinny Bob video. Now, I just want to kind of add. I did an interview with a remote viewer, John Vivanco, who's like an exceptionally gifted remote viewer. And he did a remote viewing of the Skinny Bob incident. And I can't remember the details of exactly what he found, but he said that essentially it is correct, that it's true, that was based on an alien that was being interrogated. And so, yeah, that's on my website. You can see the link there to the interview I did with John Vivanco, where he talked about the Skinny Bob video, and he thinks that it's based on a genuine incident. Now, that doesn't mean that the film itself doesn't have a lot of things going on in there, like you know, that third possibility you mentioned, that it's a true fact or true incident, but it's been somehow embellished. Okay, well that's good. So I think the Skinny Bob incident, that's something that a lot of people wanting to know about. Now, there's another very interesting alien video that's been around for a long time. I think even before the Victor video came out in '97. That is Ray Santilli's Alien Autopsy video, and so we got an image of that. Just to show. So yeah, what are your views on the Alien Autopsy video?
Not going to make a lot of people happy, but again, I'm the guy that picks out the little, the little bits and pieces of things. First of all, there are special effects people that say we would have a really, really hard time of blood naturally flowing once the surgeon cut the skin. Those were special effects people that said that on the documentary. So again, I do a lot of wrap up. Let me do it here. What you're telling me is two guys who had virtually no money by their own means. They were just, living in a flat in England. They were able to create a doll, a foam latex doll that special effects people in Hollywood would say would be virtually impossible or so difficult that those people would have a job immediately. That those people created a foam doll where the blood came out immediately in perfect synchronicity of cutting the skin open. Let me say one more thing, another thing about the Santilli video. What you're telling me, folks, listen, I want to piss you off. I want to jar you. I want to make you think. There's 5 seconds at the end of the Santilli Alien Autopsy, which is in front of a World War II airplane hangar, 4 Jeeps, 5 bodies on stretchers, period, people in military uniforms that are period correct to 1947. Again, what you're telling me is Ray Santilli and his cohort, who had no money, rented a World War II airplane hangar and rented Jeeps and had costume and wardrobe come out, and they created now 5 like alien dummies, not just the one, put them on the ground and filmed this. I mean, are you kidding me? Folks, are you kidding me? What is the creature, it looks amazingly like the one that's on the table, and there's 5 of them. So you're telling me that two guys with no money created this, and am I harking to the Victor video? Created this alien doll that had perfect blood splattering and also rented a U.S. Air Force World War II era hangar? Get out of here. Get out of here. Let me tell you something what happened. The United States government got wind that Santilli put it out. They let him put it out, and they scared the crap out of him and threatened him. And then all of a sudden it became, oh, it might be a few frames, might be accurate, ha, ha, ha. You know, we use lamb and jelly and ho-ho, and everybody's laughing. And I think the government put the fear of God in Santilli, and I hope one day when I meet him to be verified. Because you mean to tell me, Dr. Salla, in 30 years, Jon Stewart's the only person that has presented to the public? How could two broke people in London rent a United States Army or Air Force World War II hangar with Jeeps? And who did this? Again, it's like the Victor video. Show me someone on the production of credibility. Show me somebody that did the catering, the wardrobe, who was one of the actors. Nobody, zero. Not in the Victor video, not in the Santilli video. And it really pisses me off because I cannot believe that someone has not brought up how did they get this World War II Army hangar, Air Force hangar? How? Army, because Air Force was not around in the 40s. It's just crazy. No one ever thought of this? I'm a dingbat. I've got COVID and pro wrestler brain. I'm the only one that's posing this question of where they got the money. I know production in 1990s. To do that production, that's $90,000 with renting period uniforms, Jeeps, clothing, rigs, lighting, catering. Oh, please. Come on.
Okay. All right.
So I don't know. Something is, I think the government put the fear of God in them.
Okay. So it sounds as though, you're pretty convinced, by looking at all of the circumstances that this Alien Autopsy film that Ray Santilli worked on is genuine or is based on genuine film footage.
That's correct.
Ray Santilli himself was scared off at some point.
Right. And I am betting my honor. Listen to me, folks. Dr. Salla, I am betting my honor. I am betting my reputation. If somebody credible can show me and prove to me that Ray Santilli was filming that last 5 seconds on a U.S. Army World War II hangar with the Jeeps, I will give them my apology. But I'm staking my reputation that those last 5 seconds are 100% authentic.
Okay, well that's good to know. Well, thank you, Jon, for saying that. So now we're going to look at another alien video. This is supposedly, I saw this video clip. It comes from a 2016 video clip, allegedly from Project Blue Book. So let's play it, and you tell me what you think as to its genuineness.
Okay, we're recording. State of origin? Okay, yesterday you told us you traveled, and I quote, thousands of light years to get here. Yes. Tell us the truth. Or never be here. It is truth. I thought about so I take it aliens took over our future, right? So we're human. Okay, so you evolved from us. So what are you doing here now?
So there you go. So that video came out in 2016. It's got several million views on YouTube. I don't know if it appeared earlier than that, but yeah, what do you think of that one?
I think it's fake. I don't think it's authentic. You know that you're interviewing an alien off-planet being, and you don't have the camera set up on the tripod. You're moving it around. That doesn't bear with me. The whole feel of it looks more modern than it does in the 60s. Again, head scratcher. The front page, the cover shot of the Project Blue Book does look, seemingly somewhat authentic. Don't know if somebody found that and decided to put that in there. I have to hand it to the person who wrote the screenplay for that, or the creature's responses. I've watched the entire video several times. Very intelligent person wrote out that movie, and it could be based on a real transcript. But there's 100%. I believe with every fiber that's inauthentic in a fake video of an alien.
Okay, well,
and it doesn't have the timestamp. And it doesn't have the timestamp. So.
Okay, great. All right. Well, that's good to get your opinion on that one. And so that means of the 4 alien kind of videos that are circulating out there, the alien interview by Victor, you believe that's absolutely correct. That's the one you've done the investigation on.
Proven it. Yeah.
The Skinny Bob video, it has elements of truth in it, and so you're kind of sitting on the fence on that one.
Yeah, Dr. Salla, can I say one more thing?
Let me finish. Let me finish. Okay, the third one is the Ray Santilli Alien Autopsy video. That you think that's absolutely correct, and so the 4th alien interview is this 2016, allegedly from Project Blue Book, that you believe is a fake. So yeah. Add to that if you wish.
I just want to say, folks, Andrew Burlington, the other Victor researcher, myself, Chris Jackson, our investigator on my team, a couple of other people. If the Skinny Bob is fake, is hoax, it's CGI, well, at least we'll make it for me. Make it for us. It doesn't have to be anywhere near the quality of Skinny Bob. Make one. If you're so important, if you're so special as a VX artist, make Skinny Bob. Do the best you can and put it out so we can see how this was done. And you know what? I haven't seen it yet. It's the same thing that Andrew Burlington and Chris Jackson and I have said to Hollywood. Well, make us the Victor video creature. If it's so goddamn easy, make it. I'll pay you. How much is it? Oh, again, it's they look around. Well, we could and make it with 1991 technology. So on Skinny Bob, make one. Make Skinny Bob again if it's so easy. They don't do it.
So
I'm not saying it's real.
So it sounds as though the Skinny Bob, you're kind of leaning more towards it being genuine as opposed to being a hoax.
I'm just curious how it was done, how they drew that creature. That's all. I'm not saying it's real. I just want to, if it's, you want to see how wrestling's fake, I'll make a video in 7 seconds, how to fake punch, how to drop kick. I'm serious. So if I'm willing to do that, why isn't anybody else? Doesn't have to be perfect. Make Skinny Bob for Jon Stewart. That's all. That's all. I want to see how it's done.
All right. So let's bring this to a close. So what do you expect to happen now? Are you just going to sit back and wait to see whether Congressman Burchett kind of like brings up your investigation? Do you expect to hear back from them? And what do you plan to do over the next few months?
Yeah, great question. I do expect to hear back from Congressman Burchett. I do expect to testify before Congress. And I wanted to clear up something else too, that there's been a couple of internet people, little birdies chatting while he's making a documentary. Yes, because no one in the media, the mainstream media in the news will cover me. I've written 197 different reporters and news outlets, folks. Okay, this is affecting my marriage. No one will pay attention. So yes, I am forced to tell Netflix or Hulu, will you put this out so people know what's going on? So yes, I'll be compiling that, trying to enjoy my summer with my wife. I've said it before, my poor wife has endured this, especially the pedal to the metal investigation for 5 years, listening to documentaries on YouTube and the internet and on our TV at night. This poor woman just wants her husband back. So hopefully enjoying the summer with my wife and being one of the people to help the government come out of the closet with the alien interview. And Dr. Salla, I also wanted to bring up one more thing. I would like to be a person that starts a kind of a board or a coalition where the government and citizens can get together, much like happened when Nelson Mandela took back over rule in South Africa, where hey, folks, we are just going to have to tell these Air Force, military, and civilian contractors, you're exonerated. You're not going to be tried for anything. You've been expunged for any wrongdoing or any cover-up with money, with anything. We're going to have to do that for them to step forward, much like Nelson Mandela did, and Mandela did, and they formed a coalition and a board almost of military and civilians and government. And I would like to try and start the implementation of getting that board together, getting people like Linda Moulton Howe and military whistleblowers that are now coming forward and have come forward, and to ease the government again out of the closet, to let the people know that this alien phenomenon is real.
Well, Jon, I think people can contact you. You've put out your email, so we're going to make that available to people if they do want to contact you. So I want to thank you again for coming on to Exopolitics Today and sharing your expert opinion on these different alien interviews that are circulating out there. And I wish you all the best with your investigation of the Victor alien interview. And I hope a documentary does emerge soon from that. And I certainly look forward to hearing what Congressman Burchett plans to do with the data you gave him. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Salla. It's always a pleasure to be on. And again, I respect you, and it's an honor to listen, to talk to you and have you and your views listen to what is going on in my life. So thank you.
Yeah. And we have the huntingvictor.com.
Yes,
that's your website for this kind of documentary project that you're working on. So thank you again.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You have been listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Join or start a conversation in the comments. Take the time to explore the vast library of best-selling books, webinars, and podcasts by Dr. Salla. Visit exopoliticstoday.com.